you don't go anywhere far in life by yourself. I think you can get places by yourself, but I think you can just go so much further with others. And I'm a hockey player. I still play hockey at 40 plus years old. So I think you're stronger as a team and you can go a lot further as a team. So, whatever sport you're playing, baseball, hockey, football, you name it, I love that kind of team spirit, and building a business is the same thing.
Thanks for listening to the Wisenetix Podcast. My name's Daryl. I'm your host here. And with me, I've got Mark from Agrimesh. Mark, thanks so much for coming. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, Daryl. Thanks for having me, and thanks for hosting. Born and raised here in Montreal, Canada. Father of two teenagers, and that keeps me busy. But what really keeps me busy at the end of the day professionally is Agrimesh, running a small Canadian startup supporting agriculture tech.
Awesome. Yeah. Got teenagers myself. They take a lot of time for sure. Tell me a little bit more about Agrimesh. I know you guys do a lot with AI and sensors and stuff like that. Really cool stuff out there.
Yeah. So really simply, Daryl, we're automating the way that houses, and I say houses, primarily we're working in poultry, but we're also in swine and dairy and some greenhouses as well. We're optimizing essentially the environment in which the animals are living in. So similar what the industry knows to as a stage controller, we're completely different. I just market it kind of as a smart controller, essentially leveraging computers, leveraging AI and regression algorithms to truly optimize. We're even looking at weather forecasts and taking in those parameters into how the house is managed.
That's awesome. That definitely does sound like it could be busy.
It's keeping me busy. I mean, we're trying to take off. We're a smaller company. We got a good amount of customers across Canada, across the U.S., but we're only getting going as well as I would say.
Awesome. Yeah, we're doing the same thing. We're running on the same treadmill, Mark.
Okay.
So that's right. So let me ask you this as we kind of break into it a little bit here. Would you consider like your top 3 achievements, and really what did you take from those achievements?
So top 3 achievements. I think as I talk to my kids, I mean, being a father and a leader and a mentor, that's one of my top, personal top achievements, honestly, and not looking at the professional angle, but applying that kind of what I've learned with them into my professional life. I'd say another one is really, I started my career, still in college at, IKEA, the furniture company, and I was there for 12 years. I literally started from the ground up, unloading trucks, worked my way into operations, and then traveled, all over the world. I was really, really fortunate to get to see, all of Europe and Asia and the US and Canada, of course. So I think that was a really major accomplishment of myself professionally. And then I'd say the third one is honestly going from, unloading trucks at IKEA into a couple of tech companies, primarily in sales roles, but then now leading this pretty cool company and innovative technology called Agrimesh.
That's awesome. What an amazing journey that is, going from trucks to where you are now.
It's been a while, Daryl, but that's why I have this haircut as well.
Hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong. Bald is beautiful. That's what I say.
Yeah.
So kind of jumping off that, and I always find this kind of funny because I don't think my parents could answer this question accurately. How would your parents describe what you do?
So I think, my parents would simply say that I'm working in agriculture and trying to help them improve, more specifically than that. I don't know how in depth I would get with them. I've spoken to my mom a few times about what I do, but to talk about AI and optimization maybe is a little bit over her head. Sorry, Mom.
That's fine. My mom would probably say, go play golf, which I don't. I wish I did, but that's her idea. Also, sorry, Mom. So jumping more and skewing into a few like professional questions here for you. What's really interesting to us here at Wisenetix is marketing and how everybody is doing it in the industry right now. What would you say are some essential things that you have in your toolbox that you use?
Yeah, so I think there's a few, obviously, outreach through email campaigns, which, people are not super responsive and nobody really likes that strategy, but it is a strategy, the good old cold call and introduction, but leveraging your network is a great way to intro. And I'd say one of our most successful, if you want to call that a true marketing strategy. But digital advertisements, digital videos. So I'm a big proponent of videos, leveraging YouTube and then pushing those recorded videos on platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn and so forth. I think podcasts have been great too. In all honesty, promoting you guys a little bit here is coming into this industry. I've only been in it for 2 years and drinking through a fire hose as we all are, but. Essentially, I learned a lot, and I think the podcast angle is a great way to kind of get advertising out there. Digital print as well, just the industry that we're in agriculture, I think is still really relevant to getting papers and newspapers and articles in front of clients. And then probably not last, but it is the last one I'll talk about is marketing events like conferences, so like IPPE and poultry is a huge one, and local events as well has given us a lot of exposure from a company perspective.
Awesome. So kind of like picking a little bit at everywhere, like every place has its, what would my mom say? Like every silverware has its spot to be on the table.
Yeah. I think you need a multifaceted strategy, and that's kind of the recipe for success. Like, even to the extent of, having a good website, but then search engine optimization when people are Googling ultimately your company or something that your company offers is a great way to kind of hone in and know who's interested in your product and leveraging that information. So there's like tons of strategy, Daryl, but
sure.
I think it is a mixed bag and leveraging all of them to kind of help you be successful.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. You got to touch as many places as you can these days because attention spans are short. They're short. And just like you, I'm pretty new to the agricultural industry as well. Not even a year in here. And in fact, since the last time we talked, I've been using your drinking from a fire hose phrase a lot. So thanks for that. Kind of jumping onto that question as well. What are some challenges that you've had with marketing and communication really in general?
So I was having a conversation yesterday about just loving this industry, and I truly do appreciate the people first and foremost. Obviously, we're working with live animals. I think that's a huge passion of mine as well. The most difficult thing, and I've been in a few industries that are tight-knit, closed, pretty tight networks. I think that's been our biggest challenge. So if you just think of, growers from a poultry perspective, our target audience is getting in front of them. And, these are not folks that are on LinkedIn, which is, tools that I have used in the past to kind of figure out who my target audience, who I should be speaking to. So there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done and to get in front of those folks. And I think that is the biggest challenge, especially as a newcomer into the industry, is leveraging existing relationships, but then building on that to kind of, broaden your network, essentially. That's been the toughest part from a marketing perspective.
Awesome. Yeah, that I feel that in my soul. Especially as a fellow newbie in the industry, networking is so important. I mean, in general, and everything networks is important, but certainly here in this industry. So you're not alone having that challenge for sure. With that, Agrimesh, what a great product you guys have. How do you build authority and thought leadership with your product in the marketplace?
Yeah, I think storytelling has been the best way, and that's been from experience, I think, talking about, weather forecast, and when you're, prepping a poultry house, for instance, and then the system seeing that the temperature outside is going to be, um, 100 degrees in the afternoon. So there's no need to fire up heaters, and just let the system look at proactively the weather that's coming and leverage that heat that's outside to kind of climatize the house. So it's like telling the stories, I think, is the best way to kind of tie in, forget the nitty gritty on the details on the technical side as to, what the system's doing, but kind of telling those stories, I think, is the best way to gain, credibility, essentially. And leveraging your customers. I'm a huge proponent of, success stories and letting your customers sell your product for you. I think that's the best way. But also, finally, is, quantify. One approach I've taken is just quantifying our results, and it's, a playbook that's been shared with me. Again, my experience, but bringing that to the table and just like talking about real numbers and metrics, and taking the feeling out of it is ultimately my playbook.
Awesome. Yeah, the stories part really plucks a string with me. Case studies and success stories are the best, absolutely the best. Do you go to your customers and get that, and then bring that to your new customers to kind of help move the process along? Is that part of your tool house, really?
Yeah, so the great thing about us is we do have a direct link from a service perspective to our customers. They can call us Monday to Friday, 8 to 8 today from a East Coast standpoint, and then 24/7 from an emergency perspective. So our support team is interacting and working with our customers, almost on a daily basis if needed. And I think that kind of exposure allows us to get their stories and hear from them more frequently than maybe some other businesses. And then, ultimately just keeping a pulse on the customer's success, and asking, for them to advocate and kind of share their story, and rubber stamp it. I think has been our model. Nothing more complicated than that, to be honest.
That's awesome. Nothing better than having immediate feedback. It's free consulting.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, you had mentioned earlier that a big challenge that you guys were facing, and I think in general everybody faces, is getting in front of the right person. Is that probably the biggest challenge that you're facing right now as a department or a company? And how are you tackling it?
I'd say it's a really unique challenge, and I think the industry knows this is we're a new age of smart control, as again I market it. Control space is a very, very tight space. There are some proven solutions out there, but the complexity of how the industry works with the integrators and then the growers and dealers, I mean, it's a fine balance in keeping everybody happy, right? So I think that's been a unique challenge for our company, and I think we've figured it out. But again, it's building that credibility and talking to the right people, building that trust ultimately, and winning business, and then showing your success. So that's all been parts. And then Daryl, as a startup, I mean, you're wearing so many hats on a daily basis. I say I'm the chief everything officer, and that's great because I have the acronym to go with it. But my team as well. I gotta shout out to my team. Is We're a pretty small knit group, but I mean everybody kind of they're ninjas when we need them to be, to kind of shift gears and to take on active other responsibilities and so forth. So part of maybe the industry challenge, but also as a startup, the challenge for us there as well.
Sure. Yeah. Startups you have to be agile, and your hat's got to fit in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate to flip flop on big company to a smaller startup, 40 employees in Sweden, and then that company got acquired by a U.S. publicly traded company. We were 3,500 people when I think around that when I left there about 2 years ago. So I mean, interesting differences on both sides, of course.
Awesome. Those are cool experiences to have.
I think so. It makes us a little resilient, and it kind of opens your experience as well. It opens your blinders from different experiences and knowledge as well. That's my
Yeah.
humble opinion anyway.
I'm on board with your humble opinion. I'll take that to the bank. So what I find interesting is a lot of people like yourself, and I'd like to argue maybe myself as well, had sort of a mentor that kind of helped us grow professionally. Have you had that sort of relationship? Was it a person? Was it a thing? Was it a book? What was, I guess, your mentor?
Yeah, I think I've had multiple mentors in my life, and I'll preface that by saying you don't go anywhere far in life by yourself. I think you can get places by yourself, but I think you can just go so much further with others. And I'm a hockey player. I still play hockey at 40 plus years old. So I think you're stronger as a team and you can go a lot further as a team. So, whatever sport you're playing, baseball, hockey, football, you name it, I love that kind of team spirit, and building a business is the same thing. So I've been mentored along the way through the different companies that I've been in. And it started when, again, back to IKEA days where I got recognized and somebody pulled me under their wings to help me bring me to the next level. And then as of recent, one of our investors, shareholders, Claude is, a mentor to me today, like just guiding me in this industry and sharing his opinion and challenging me. And again, just a great leader, essentially, to bring myself to the next level. It's been a great experience. So again, I personally think that mentorship has helped me get to where I am today.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing, just to kind of piggyback on what you said, one thing someone that mentored me told me a long time ago was, a rising tide raises all boats. And so if you are, as a manager or whatever, are pulling the bar up, the boats are going to follow. And I feel there needs to be someone there to help you reach there, because as people, I think we want to be comfortable most of the time. So I get that.
I think it takes different people, right? And my former leaders at this small Swedish startup was a gentleman named Gary Mansell. He really simplified things. He's got a great book, Simplified to Succeed, that I recently read. And Gary just simplified his message continuously to his team, but he always set the bar pretty high. And I think that all allowed us to execute to our best in whatever role you were in. So, pretty cool stuff. Again, I had to talk about Gary because he was really a mentor to me as well along the way to get here where I am today.
That's awesome. You said that book was Simplified to
Succeed.
Awesome. I'm going to add it to my collection back here, as you can see.
Yeah. It's
awesome.
It's a great read.
Awesome. Yeah, I love reading books like that. So thank you for the suggestion. And I'm sure Gary will thank his Amazon royalty for it as well. Mark, let me ask you this question. Did you always want to be a CEO?
You know what? Yes. It's funny. I just come out and say yes. So I was in college, I studied initially in social sciences and I quickly switched gears, psychology, sociology. It was interesting to me, but it was not my niche. So I changed majors into business, administration, and everybody was just like, "You're just an entrepreneur. You're a business guy." That's what everybody said I was, and I think it's ingrained into me. I just love it, and I just always wanted to lead a company. To be honest, Daryl.
Awesome. So everyone said you were a business guy. What made them say that?
I don't know. Just maybe the hustle, the grind. In college, working 3 jobs. Having nice things. I had a car at 16, and I always wanted things, but I realized quickly that you don't get nothing for free as well. So I was willing to do the hustle, and academics were important to me, but also the hustle was as important. Again, it just brings me back to business, and they would. My friends and colleagues would say, essentially, I had the grit, I had the grit, and I guess I had that DNA in me that I just
You
wanted.
were, you vibed business.
I guess so. I guess so.
That's funny. So I had a car when I was 16 too that I worked my booty off for. And I'll ask you how you got yours in a second, but I worked at the grocery store, bagging and, butchering meat every now and then. But where I made most of my money was selling soda out of my locker at school because soda wasn't allowed on campus in the vending machines.
Great influence there, Daryl.
Selling contraband. So what were you working when you bought your car?
I started working at 12. Delivering newspapers. And
Awesome.
I went from walking the route to biking the route to having a scooter to essentially having enough money on a monthly basis to buy my first car. So that was kind of my first hustle to make enough money to get my first car.
Look at you. You went from walking to riding to driving to unloading truck into business ops in IKEA, and now you're CEO. That's a journey, my friend.
It's been a fun journey. I appreciate it. I don't look at it that way, but it has been a good stepping stone along the way.
That's awesome. So cool. So got a few more questions for you while we kind of wind down here. And this is kind of coming down from the mentor aspect. What is one piece of advice that you would give someone kind of starting out in a career similar to yours?
Yeah. So I think we talked about it already, Daryl, but it's your network. This is a people business. Any business is a people business. And I think connecting with folks and making, solid relationships will bring you a lot further, a lot faster. So that would be my only advice. Obviously, you got to be smart, you got to work hard, and you got to be lucky. Those are the three things I would say to be successful. But don't underestimate, where people can bring you and how people can help you along the way. So really work on those relationships, and building those relationships with people is key.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super sage advice right there. Super sage advice. So kind of with that, and maybe not really with that, but let's talk legacy for a minute here. So you're CEO right now. What if is there one thing that out of anything you would want to be remembered for? It could be professional or personal.
Yeah, I do reflect a lot on my professional successes. And, one thing I do hope is, and I've always, I think, had a skill and knack for it, is bridging operations, business, and technology. And I just hope to be, maybe recognized one day for a major milestone or accomplishment in that realm. That, I'm in the food industry right now. Everybody's got to eat. It is kind of pandemic proof, bulletproof to a certain extent. It's such an important piece of, obviously, life. So what we do. So I'm looking to, really optimize that with leveraging technology. I think we're in such a unique space. It's a underdeveloped industry from an operational perspective. I mean, the folks have done an amazing job to get where we are today with the means that they've had. But I think there are better tools in the toolbox that can help us just be more efficient and, better on the environment as well. I think there's a lot we can do around sustainability, whether that's, burning less fuel and putting less emissions in the air, to, treating the animals better. I mean, I can go many different, angles with that, but really, yeah, I hope to really change the game with the technology and doing it the right way at the right pace to get the best adoption as well.
Awesome answer. So I've got one more question for you. Well, maybe two, but so Mark, in respect to like brand authority and everybody knowing who Agrimesh is and stuff like that, how important is that for you to be known as the company that does what your company does for the market?
Yeah, I think we are so uniquely positioned, at Agrimesh, in doing things very different. it's very scary to a lot of folks, but we've had some real major successes with multiple integrators now. And, again, not everybody wants to share their metrics and numbers, but the success has been there. And I think, trying us out, at least trying this new tech and vetting it and measuring the metrics, again, the success metrics is really how I think we'll be able to propel this business to the next level. And again, just like challenging the status quo of the industry and how things have been done. I want to be a little bit of a pain, and I'll do it respectfully, of course, but I think there are better ways to operationalize what we're doing today.
So cool, Mark. So cool. So with that, here's the last question. I promise. Where can listeners find you online, Mark?
Yeah, so agrimesh.net is our website, so you can hit us up there. There's a 1-866 number on the website. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, so we do post a lot of videos and just customer testimonials and success stories. We're all at the major events, the IPP event in Atlanta in January. We're at the Midwest Poultry. We'll be at other events, across the U.S. And Canada over the next few months. And then you can hit me up, of course, directly on LinkedIn, Mark Maxwell. There's many, many different ways to find me.
Fair enough. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening to the Wisenetix Podcast. Again, I'm here with Mark Maxwell from Agrimesh. Mark, such a pleasure having you here. Glad we could finally get our schedules to match again.
Yeah, great chatting with you, and thanks to Wisenetix. I think it's great what you guys are doing, and I appreciate the invite.
Not a problem. We're happy to have you here. And everyone else, whenever you're listening, have a great night.